After all the drama we heard around the Canucks, I don't know if they necessarily need to add to it, but we're going to go over that in this video. Now, we know that there have been a lot of NHL trade rumors around a lot of teams, including the Canucks a little bit as well. But on top of that, there's been drama around Pettersson and Miller and a lot of things, weird things with management. Some of the players are denying what's going on at least when I read the articles, and then you have Elliot Friedman talking about hey, they would rather keep these players than get rid of them, a whole bunch of things going on. It's almost hard to keep up with it. Now, so essentially their general manager was asked, hey, would you ever essentially consider trading him before his no trade protection kicks in? Because he has a no movement clause that is kicking in not this season, but the next season. So it's kind of like an interesting position the Canucks are in, right? If they want to move on from a player, they literally have the power to do it. Now, essentially, Allvin went on and said, he said what GMs always do, and, Petey's this, and he's a great guy, and da-da-da-da-da-da. And then the spicy tidbit came out that he was like, as to whether would I ever do it, you can't say anything's impossible, right? He said specifically, is it possible? Well, I guess anything is possible. Listen, obviously he's right. I really don't like it when GMs talk about players like they're just absolutely untradeable little munchkins and whatever. I guess the argument against that is you don't necessarily want you don't want to piss a player off, right? You don't want friction in your organization. You have to have a working relationship, which, I don't know, seems kind of weird in the Canucks right now. They don't seem to have a working relationship between some of their players and whatever's going on there. But that's a spicy meatball. Now, you could make the argument that perhaps he's just saying that to, light a fire under Elias Pettersson. Pettersson, from an outside looking, hockey fan in general, always does seem like a little bit of a head case. He does seem like he gets inside his own head a lot. Apparently, there were rumors that he had to get away from social media and this and that. So perhaps they're looking at it that way. Allvin did talk about him being a number one center. I think he's really, really good. Now, his numbers this year have overall, his point per game has taken a step back. We have gotten used to Elias Pettersson being an above point per game player, above 82 points last year. The year before that, he had above 100 points. This year, again, he just needs to perform better. Anybody that's telling you that it's just not true, right? And when you're not performing, there's going to be some drama in the organization. That's just the reality of what you're dealing with here. I'm going to come out and say it straight up, though. He's a centerman. He's a centerman that scores typically above a point per game. At least that's what we're getting used to. It would be silly to trade a player like that without getting something legitimate in return. Obviously, that's a pretty no-nonsense thing to say. I don't know anybody who would agree with that. The problem is when you trade a player like that, you are probably going to be the person in the trade that is going to lose the trade. I always say this, when you immediately look at a trade, whatever player is the best, that team won. And I'm sorry if you trade Elias Pettersson, unless it's like the Matthew Tkachuk trade or whatever. On the surface, that trade was actually pretty good when it first happened. It's kind of like that, but most trades aren't like that. So do I think it's foolish for the Canucks to even entertain that? Yes, mostly. The reason that I say that is because I really, really like Elias Pettersson. I think he's a really, 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 really good player. I think you got to be real careful with this stuff. Because when you are able to get an upper echelon guy like Elias Pettersson is, you don't want to let them go. You need to understand that you need to keep these players around. It's really, really important that they feel respected and whatnot in the organization. Now, obviously, from the GM's point of view, he's thinking we can't have people butting heads all the time. which is fair too. You have to make a decision. Elliot Friedman again did say that they want it to work out with both of these players, but they're also being, quote, realistic about it, that at the end of the day, if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. These are just very, very, very interesting comments from Allvin. Like, this is stuff that you don't regularly see this type of drama usually in the NHL. Now, I'm not saying I'm against it, though, because I do love things to talk about. I love hockey. I love this stuff. Although I want the Canucks to be a good franchise. They have a good fan base. They care about their team. They deserve a good team. I love franchises that have good fan bases being rewarded for having a legitimate fan base. So that's why, I might be a Leaf fan, but I still want Vancouver to do well, unless they're playing the Leafs, that is. It is also interesting in these comments by the general manager is that he didn't even mention the beef between the two players at all. Like, he didn't even mention it. He just touched on Pettersson individually, which I found a little bit interesting. Like, I thought he would at least cover that a little bit and kind of lightly talk about it. So that I found it a little strange that he didn't say anything about that. I mean, here's the thing. Pettersson has struggled after signing that giant contract. He has. Like, he just hasn't been the player that he was before. But that doesn't mean that you move on from a player. He is just a head case. Like, he just is. He's always going to be like this. So you need to understand what type of situation can we get Pettersson in where he can mold into our team better with his issues that he has, right? That's the way it is. Sometimes you do just need to help a player because not every player is going to be, mentally fit all the time, right? So I'm telling you, when you get in a hockey team, you're going to be dealing with a lot of different personalities, a lot of different players. JT Miller is a very fiery guy, and maybe Elias Pettersson, obviously he's a fiery guy, but maybe he might not be exactly like that, if you understand what I mean, right? Anyways, I just wanted to touch on these GM's comments and the consistent trade rumors. If you could like, comment, and subscribe, I would greatly appreciate it, guys, and make sure to have a great day. Goodbye, guys.